Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This week our guest is Boris Musheyev, and he is a CPA, a certified tax strategist, and founder of BORISMTAX. He is a seven-figure tax planning and advisory firm and has more than 40,000 business owners reduce taxes, building wealth through proactive tax strategies. He hosts the Tax Reduction podcast and has been featured in Yahoo Finance, interviewed by Kevin Harrington of the Shark Tank, and led his company to the Inc. 5000 list 2 years in a row. Boris focuses on helping entrepreneurs stop overpaying the IRS by using tax code strategically instead of reactively. Welcome, Boris.
Thank you, Gary. Good to be here.
So, Boris, what made you decide to get into tax? Everybody kind of thinks of tax as, boring. So what about it excites you?
Well, first of all, I don't think I would be good at anything else besides numbers.
Okay.
That's number one. But the second thing is, I realized that in America, everybody has one thing in common, and they need help with taxes. And I figured, I'll never go out of business. So I'm going to go into this profession, confused out of college. I didn't really know what I want to do compared to some of my friends that kind of knew they want to be a pharmacist, or doctors, or surgeons, or lawyers, or whatever it is. That's kind of big, those are like top professions people go for. I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, everybody will need a tax guy. So I'm just going to go do accounting and taxes. So that's kind of how I ended up in it.
And here you are now.
And here I am. I had no idea what journey it would be and where it would take me, making that decision. Obviously, it got me, with God's help, very, very far. Not far enough. But yeah, so that was interesting.
Great. So, Boris, there are tax preparers, there are tax advisors, there's tax strategists. There's a lot of different terminology that people use when they talk about tax preparation and taxes and what they do. Can you give us your definition of these?
Yes. First of all, I just want to say I really like how you say that there is a terminology to what's being done by accountants and not necessarily their titles, which we can get into later, what their titles mean. With your permission, of course, it's your show.
Sure.
But to answer your question, to define it, there is tax and accounting falls into different buckets, right? There's many things that an accountant can help you do. An accountant can help you do your financials. They can help you do your accounting, or they can help you on the tax side. But even on the tax side, there is a tax preparer, somebody who specializes in preparation of your taxes to submit it to the IRS. And even that preparer could have a specialty, right? There is a preparer that specializes in personal taxes. There is a preparer that specializes in estate taxes. There is a preparer that specializes working with foreign residents that, live in the United States or live outside of the United States but have U.S. citizenship. They also have businesses outside of the United States, right? That's a tax preparer, somebody who specializes in preparing your business taxes. So all of that encompasses a tax preparer, which is a very important individual to have when you're doing your taxes, because they make sure compliance with the IRS and submit necessary documents, and they have their certain specialty. Then there is another area of taxation that is planning and advisory. That is where a lot of business owners think that, tax planning is for the big fish, for the big dogs, for the ultra wealthy, which is not necessarily true, because tax planning can also be used for small business owners that can absolutely save a lot of money on taxes. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
So just kind of digging in a little bit deeper. When you talk about the tax preparer, you talk about tax planning and tax advisory. So many business owners that I've come across, they think that because somebody prepares their taxes or because someone helps them with their accounting and their finances, that they are also there to do the tax planning for them, or they should be automatically doing that. Can you talk about that and how, these are different things and that they're different engagements?
Yeah, so and you're right, that's the common notion, right? A business owner, he's like, hey, I have an accountant, he does my taxes, they do my bookkeeping, they give me financial statements when I need them, and all of that. So I assume a business owner thinks, I assume that that same person is looking out for my best interests and make sure that I pay less in taxes. But that's not the case, like you pointed out, because the preparer's job is, they know their job. They need to prepare their taxes to submit it to the IRS. But the business owner doesn't know that. Right? The business owner, just like everybody else, started their business from scratch, in most cases at least. And they started with their accountant that basically specialized in, hey, I'm working with small businesses that have very little profit or just started their business and doing their taxes. As the business owner grows, he doesn't realize that his accountant doesn't specialize in what he thinks he does. And most often, this business owner has outgrown at their current accountant, which is their tax preparer. And that tax preparer is not doing any planning for them. And the reason I know this, and every business owner will understand what I mean after I say this, is that when their taxes are ready and they tell their accountant, well, what else can I do to not to have this bill? I understand you telling me I owe $70,000, but what can I do right now? Right? When you tell them they owe something, it's not a sticker shock yet. Because like, okay, thanks, but so what can I do right now to reduce this? Like, no, like the year is over, and they're like, well, what did you do the whole year for me? Like, what do you mean? I was doing your bookkeeping, I was doing your accounting, I was doing your taxes. Like, what about my strategies, right? And what like there has to be a way I pay less in taxes. And a lot of business owners are just not educated enough to know, hey, this is a separate professional that you get yourself a tax advisor. And in most cases, when you get yourself a tax advisor, they also specialize in preparing your taxes or have a team of people that are preparing your taxes. So you don't necessarily need to have two professionals. And like I said, having a tax preparer is very, very important until you reach a certain point in your business.
So, Boris, with that, what is that income threshold, or what is it that makes you need to have that tax advisor or that tax planner?
I think that when your business starts hitting net profit of $100,000, you need to start looking for tax advisory service or somebody who specializes in tax advisory. And tax advisory is not cheap. You're obviously paying for an advice. You're paying to pay less in taxes. For example, for clients in my firm, we want to make sure that whatever they invest to work with us, their savings are a lot more. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Sure.
So, like I always give this example, we do a welcome call every time a new clients enroll to work with us. At the end of the month, there is always like a welcome call with Boris, because they enroll to work with us through my team and so forth. So they get to meet me, and one things I talk about there, I'm like, look, these are the strategies you're going to be getting, all of you, right? And the same strategies could save one of you $25,000 and somebody else $60,000. And the reason is where you are in your net profit. So if your net profit is low, you're in a lower bracket. Because you're in a lower bracket, your savings are lower. So if a business owner is making $100,000 and they're going to go try to hire themselves a tax advisor, it may be hard for them to find a tax advisor that because it will be expensive. And it's not a cheap investment. It's an investment with a huge ROI. So I have an answer to that business owner. If you're making 100,000, start searching for a tax advisor. Either get yourself a tax advisor or get some kind of a coaching program that shows you some of the strategies you can use to pay less in taxes, right? Until you get to $200,000-$300,000 in net profit. Or if you're confident, hey, I know I'm only making 100, next year I'm going to be 200, 300, 400 and printing money, then it is an investment worth making right now, even though, it may be expensive, but if you know you're going to be making money, then it's definitely an investment worth making. But I would say at $100,000 net profit.
So I think that the big point that you're making is that this is somebody that whoever you get to be your tax advisor is somebody that's going to be able to grow with you also. So they're not going to have, I'm going to say, one trick pony for a tax strategy. They're going to have many different tax strategies that they're going to be able to give to you to help you reduce your tax bill.
Honestly, Gary, that depends. Like, for example, you can hire a tax advisor when you're at a certain stage in your business. Let's say you're making $800,000 net profit, right? And if there's somebody that specializes as a tax advisor, as a tax strategist, they can probably reduce your liability to a certain point. They're going
Hmm.
to give you tax strategies. But let's say your business grew to making multiple seven figures in profits. We're talking about 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, $5 million in profit. And this is very common with doctors. This is very common with dentists. This is very common with personal injury attorneys, right? And now you've got a tax advisor that you started with when your profit was $800,000. Can the same tax advisor be used to help you reduce taxes? And the answer is it depends. Do they specialize in advanced tax strategies or not?
Right.
Now, and how would you know that? So I've learned this important lesson with myself in my business. So when I was more making a certain amount of money in my business, there was only a certain amount of strategies I was providing to my clients
Hmm.
because that's what I knew, because that's how much I make. And I
Right.
knew like, hey, but then when I start making a lot more, I'm like, wait a second. Like, let me start learning the tax code even more, right? Because I want to help myself as well as my clients. Because as I'm growing in my business, I'm also attracting clients that are growing in their business or making this amount more money that like I am. So then I start looking out and finding those advanced strategies and then bringing the same strategies to my clients. So if you are a business owner that's watching this, you're making millions of dollars in profit, for example, or even gross revenue, like one thing to consider is like, is your tax advisor on the same income level as you? They may not have to be on exact same level, maybe a little bit less, but we don't want to work with an advisor that, for example, just finished some coaching courses to become an advisor. Do you know what I mean? Like if
Yep.
you like I'm a tax advisor and you're a CPA as well, right? Gary, you said you do
Correct.
tax planning in your
Correct.
firm for your clients. Tell me if this is true. Have you seen ads on Instagram and Facebook from marketing agency? If you're a tax advisor, we can get you 10 to 15 high ticket clients a month. Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
And when you click on one of those ads, now you're getting hit with so many other ads from those marketing agencies. And then what happens is that there's a new accountant that decided to do tax advisory, start learning a couple of strategies, and then sign up with such a marketing agency, which is, I have nothing against them. They can sign up with
Right.
whoever they want. And this marketing agency now markets, they do what they do best, which is they market and make you look like an expert in this field. And you may not be one yet, but you will be in the future, right? And now
Hmm.
you attract certain customers, and you should, right? Let's say you're an accountant making $1 million in revenue yourself. So I think it's fair enough that you should attract business owners that are making $1 million in revenue or less, because you can help them the same way you helped yourself. But if they're going to put you an expert and they say and attract a $10 million business client while you yourself making only a million, you may know a concept of a strategy, but you don't know it very well on how to implement it for your clients.
Right.
So that's where it kind of gets tricky. I feel like the market is getting saturated with so-called tax advisors that it's business owners' job. It is literally their job when they're about to hire a tax advisor, be like, can you show me proof of concept? Meaning to
Hmm.
say, you don't necessarily need to ask for references. I hate when people ask me for references because, like, I get a client that's a reference and nobody calls them and I wasted my client's time. But,
Right.
like, proof of concept, do you have recognition? Well, do you have clients? Do you have testimonials? Like, do you have video testimonials? Can somebody say that you've done this? Do you have a team behind you? A lot of times, business owners think, you know what? I want to work with an accountant. I want to direct access to him. I want to text him. I want to call him. I want only him. Well, your account is probably not big enough for you if you have a very big business. You want a tax advisor that has a team behind them and they have that proof of concept.
Right. Um, in going through this, I guess what's the biggest misconception that you have dealt with business owners when it comes to tax planning?
They don't believe that it can be done or it's not for them. Like, can I really do this? Can I really save that much money on taxes? Like we tell people, like you even take a look at my coffee mug, right? 100K saved on taxes. A lot of our clients save $100,000 on taxes, but it's incomprehensible. It's like, wait, what do you mean? Last year I paid 500,000, but you're saying this year I can pay 100,000 less or more, right? Like meaning $100,000 less, so 400,000 or even 300,000. Like we've got a lot of clients that are saving multiple six figures on their taxes, and they're in shock. Like,
Right.
wow, like it's unbelievable. But to get them through the door, to become a client, to enroll, the misconception, like, look, the money is not an issue to invest, right? For some of them, like, I don't care. Like, this is what you charge. If you're saying I'm going to save, it makes sense to make this investment, but can I really save that much money?
Mhm.
Is it really possible? Is it really legal? I don't know if you heard on accountingtoday.com. Yesterday, I saw an article, I think it was on accountingtoday.com, about Charles Schwab, about how they're limiting how much advanced tax strategies their advisors can offer to their clients. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that one yet.
So they're limiting
Interesting.
because so many business owners, thank God in America, right? Like we're prospering and they're making money, and and everybody wants these advanced strategies. And Charles Schwab is limiting to limit the risk of exposure of a risk, which obviously I'm sure they're doing things legally. Obviously they would not be doing things
Right.
illegally, but like there's so many advanced strategies and everybody can tap into it, not only ultra wealthy. I mean, Charles Schwab is basically doing that. There was another article in Accounting Today about, I forgot the Congress, was it a congressman or a senator that basically came, probably a senator, I forgot the name, that basically came up and said, listen, we've got these two strategies in the tax code. There are loopholes and we need to close them. One of them was grant trusts, another one was a private placement life insurance. They're like, this is creating a lot of tax savings. We need to like close a loop on this. Does this mean it's illegal? Absolutely not, right? It's just it's legal. It's in the tax code. It can be used, and misconception for business owners to answer your questions like, does this really exist? Is it really legal? It is legal. Just because, for example, a senator wants to put a stop on it doesn't mean it's not illegal. They just want like they want to stop leaking of the tax dollars for the government. So I would say that's the biggest misconception. Yes, it can be done, and yes, you can save $100,000 on taxes.
So when a potential client comes to you, you're talking to them, and because I've run across this a bunch of times where it's like, well, why hasn't my current CPA told me about any of this?
Yeah, and it's interesting you say like how a business owner can come and say how come my CPA didn't tell me about this? So let's kind of take that title for a second. Is it really the fact that he's a CPA or he's an accountant or he's a tax preparer? Like we see a lot of
That's the
content online,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, but that's the thing. It's like most business owners, when whoever it is that prepares their taxes, don't truly know what their title is, but they automatically just say, "Oh, my CPA," because that's what they
Correct.
think.
You're correct, because an accountant is a certified public accountant is the highest designation you can have as an accountant in the United States. And like it's funny because a lot of accountants out there that are not CPAs, that are EAs, for example, which is called enrolled agent, and they
Right.
say, you know what, your CPA doesn't know how to do tax planning, but I'm an enrolled agent and I'm licensed in all 50 states by the IRS. And I do tax planning, and because I'm licensed and I'm an EA enrolled agent with the IRS, I do tax strategies. That is completely false, right? Your accountant could be, your tax preparer could be a CPA, and your tax preparer could be an EA. The designation doesn't matter. When I do a welcome call with our new clients that enroll to work with us, I do a welcome call once a month. And one of the things I tell them is like, I know I'm a CPA and I'm sure my title got me, to a certain point in my career, but like my title doesn't mean anything because I've learned tax strategies and tax planning through experience. And
Right.
everybody in my firm, I have a lot of accountants and tax advisors working in my firm. And when I hire them, they were tax preparers because you cannot look for tax advisors on the market. You go on Indeed.com and put up a job post. You're not going to put a tax advisor. The market, there's the school doesn't produce tax advisors. Colleges don't, right? So I
Right.
say in my firm, a lot of people don't have their titles, EAs or CPAs, and I don't really care. Because a lot of tax advisors in my firm, they were produced by BORISMTAX, my firm, because we taught them, we trained them, we showed them tax strategies they use for their clients. And they have no designation, and they probably know a lot more than that CPA or that EA. But just because your accountant, just because your CPA is not a tax strategist doesn't mean it's a designation of a CPA. It could be an EA, it could be any type of an accountant. So yeah.
Yeah. So I guess which one of the biggest strategies that you bring to a business owner that that's really simple, but it really surprises the business owner?
Um, so like we divide our strategies in kind of like in a different categories in our firm when we do tax planning for our clients. Like some of them is a core strategy, right? Those are core strategies, a no-brainer. Just get it done. You don't have to like do much, and we help them do this. And like, oh wow, I can't do this, right? These core strategies save our clients between twenty to $50,000 on taxes.
Hmm.
The reason I have such a big range is because depending where they are with their income,
Right.
depending what bracket they're in. So that's a core strategy. And within the core strategies, there could be little things that you just change on their payroll themselves, right? For example, you reduce their compensation to a reasonable amount, you add health insurance to it, and that alone, savings alone could be anywhere between ten to $30,000 just on that little thing. Like, oh, I had no idea. Like, I can include my health insurance, especially if you have a family. Those are big premiums, and that reduces your FICA, meaning so your payroll taxes, your income taxes, and you restructure your salary. So those are things takes them by surprise. For some clients, they're like, all right, this is amazing. Can you give me something bigger? So we go into the next category and be like, what income level are you in? So all of our clients that make $750,000 or more in net profit and taxable income, we have more of an advanced strategies, right? This is where we introduce tax incentivized investments. Like tax code is full of tax incentivized investments. Invest into this, get a big tax break. Do this, get a big tax break. Everybody's situation is different. And we try to put options in front of them, and they get to choose what they want to do. And each strategy obviously catches them by surprise.
Right, right. Um, what industries do you think um, are underutilized tax planning the most?
I think the industries that are underutilized the most is the medical industry. And the reason I say that is based on my experience working with doctors, dentists, and medical professionals. My brother is a doctor. He's a resident. He graduated college as a doctor. And as a resident, I think he does between 60 to 80 hours a week, if I'm not mistaken. And that's just as a resident. So after college, they thrown into residency where they have to basically learn as much as possible about being a doctor. They really have no time to comprehend what's happening to their paycheck, how much taxes they're paying, or the whole financial literacy. They have none, right? Almost none.
Right.
So after the residency, they get a really nice big paying job, which is like, let's say, goes from 100,000 to 500,000, at least for most doctors that choose like a very specific profession. And look, out of 500,000, I'll pay 50% on taxes. I still walk away with 250,000. They're kind of okay with it, but not so much okay with it. Then they start opening up their own practice. By the way, mind you, all this time, financial literacy is almost none. And then when they open up their own practice and they're like, holy moly, now I made 3 million and I have to pay 1.5 million in taxes. Like, wait a second, that's when they wake up. And they wake up a little bit too late. And when you start presenting them a tax plan options, they get very skeptical. Like, I've never seen this before
Right.
in my life. I never thought this is something possible. Now you're telling me, Boris, I can save $600,000 on taxes, right? So yeah, so like, for example, we just sent out an email today to our email list about a dentist who saved over $300,000 on taxes last year. And it's possible, it can be done. But I would think that the most underutilized industry in terms of tax planning are medical professionals, doctors, and dentists.
Great, great. Um, what advice would you have for a business owner that's listening to this right now? What advice would you have them and how to get started, and what they should be looking for? I mean, you said earlier, you want to make sure that you have somebody that can show you proof of concept and has done this before. Um, what other advice would you give them to find someone who is a true tax planner?
First of all, take a look at your business profits. If you're a profitable business owner, you're most likely overpaying in taxes. Start searching for yourself to work with somebody who's a tax advisor. There's a lot of accountants that offer general services. They do bookkeeping, accounting, payroll, sales taxes, and also on their website, they have like tax planning. Find somebody that literally just their bread and butter is tax planning and advisory. That's all they do. They can do your tax planning strategies and file your taxes. If you find somebody like that, that is already a good indication. Like they probably know what I'm talking about. They probably know what they're talking about. And then speak to them, get on a consultation, see how many clients they have, what they have done for their clients in the past. I don't think that generally advisors would lie to you. So ask them point blank, what's your average savings per client? How many business owners you work with? What's the savings and so forth? That's kind of how I would get started with that.
So in this, when you're someone's tax advisor, how often are you meeting with them throughout the year?
So our clients, they have unlimited access to their tax advisor, right? So they can always call. We have those old school desk phones. Okay,
Yep.
we all work in office, nothing gets outsourced. But there's two mandatory tax planning meetings that we require our clients to show up. So they don't even need to reach out to us. We reach out to them. Okay. And that is mid-year. So around May and June time. Right now, for example, we're in the month of May. We already had emails go out about 2 to 3 weeks ago to all of the clients with a calendar link to their specific tax advisor so you can start doing mid-year planning, meaning say, hey, we're
Mhm.
up to May. How much money have you made? What strategies have you used from what we gave you and help you implement? And what other strategies can we implement on top of your new income? Then the really important one, the second time we meet with them is year end, which is around November, end of October, beginning of November, whole month of November. We do year end projections. By that time, business owners kind of know what their income is, what tax strategies we used so far, and what can we layer on top of that. So those two are like absolute must.
So, and I'll say that's a big distinction difference between a tax preparer and a tax advisor because a tax preparer typically isn't meeting with anybody, throughout the year and working on these projections either.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Boris, what have I not asked you that you wish I had?
I don't know. I think you did pretty good with the questions. I think you led it pretty good, Gary.
All right. Um, if people like what they hear and they want to reach out to you and your team, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. So any business owner that wants to save money on taxes, we save a lot of business owners $100,000 or more on taxes. They can go to save100know.com. That's our website. I'm sure you can put it in your show notes as well.
Mhm.
Very simple. It's safe number 100know.com. There's a free training. They can watch exactly how they can use which strategies they can use to save 100K or more on taxes. It's free. They can just watch it.
Where can they find your podcast?
They can find it on all the platforms. It's called Tax Reduction Podcast. I'm sure we can put the link in the show notes as
Mhm.
well, but it's on Spotify, iTunes, Buzzsprout, all the major podcast platforms have our podcast, Tax Reduction Podcast.
Great. Boris, I really appreciate your time today. Enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate you also, Gary.
Great. Hey, this week my guest was Boris Musheyev, and I will
Moshe.
see you guys next week.